All right, we're live. So let me know if you can hear me on YouTube Live. And then we'll see how the battery life is doing, etc. I see Meta if he wants to come up. I see Machine if he wants to come up and talk about tomorrow's CPI. Henry says he's picking up the kids from school now. Um, GN says sounds excellent. That's perfect. That's great. We have a question in the replies. So I started publishing articles on Seeking Alpha. I really don't want people signing up for the premium tier over there to read them. I don't want you to do that. So you're welcome to come up and ask questions about them. So for example, I pinned at the top my post that just got published about SMCI. So I'm trying to publish articles about, what's on the news, what people want to read about, what people will click and discuss, etc. And in the meantime, I'm learning about these industries, companies, and this article, um, in short, compares SMCI to NVIDIA and says even though the 3-year revenue growth looks identical, the profit margins couldn't be more different. NVIDIA's profit margins are very high, and they have grown with revenue, showing operating leverage, whereas SMCI, positive profit margins, however, margins are not growing along with revenue. So I think this is a very important distinction. And we can, you don't have to. I recommend, if you don't already have membership there, I recommend not getting them. But I can't publish these articles on Patreon or elsewhere because they require exclusivity. So I'm not allowed to publish them elsewhere. But we can talk about them here, and this is basically everything that we talk about in here anyway. So, and I did some research, just some charts and graphs, but that's the idea. SMCI is different than NVIDIA. And SMCI, for example, is going to be added to the S&P 500 in about a week. So it's part of the reason why the stock has run up a lot in recent weeks. It's up about 10 times in the last year. So it has a short interest of about 11%. It could be a short candidate for those of you who try to balance out market risk with a neutral portfolio. I haven't checked, however, their borrow rate, like how much are you paying to borrow the shares to short. So it's up to you if you want to short the shares, buy puts, sell calls, etc. SMCI also works with other companies. NVIDIA, they have a very close tie to the extent that for their keynotes, um, for their keynote presentation, Jensen, the founder and CEO of NVIDIA, came up to the stage and chatted in a very friendly way for about a half hour. So they have a very good relationship with NVIDIA for the last 3 decades. But they also work with other companies, AMD and others. So they provide servers for AI applications, high performance computing AI applications. I believe this stock is overvalued. But again, for those of you who just joined, I recommend not signing up for Seeking Alpha's premium tier to read this article, because we can't discuss it here. You can ask questions about it here. You can ask questions about it in the replies. So it is a pricey tier for Seeking Alpha. So, all right. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. I have a new laptop. I'm told the sound is excellent on YouTube Live, which is perfect. I see the quality, picture quality is better too, and my laptop is not draining out the battery at an incredible rate. So this is a perfect solution, I think. So it should work fine going forward. Ranger the Dog says SMCI has better returns than Nvidia in the last 5 years. This is correct. Stock price performance is better than Nvidia, but in the last 3-month period, year-to-date period, SMCI's stock price performance is entirely due to multiple expansion. Entirely due to multiple expansion. There is significant revenue growth. 3-year revenue growth tripled in the last 3 years. Revenue tripled in the last 3, exactly as Nvidia, because Nvidia is their primary customer, I believe. And however, their margins have not grown as Nvidia. In fact, SMCI's non-GAAP gross profit margin has declined in the last 5 quarters and is set to decline further. Management says this is due to trying to get market share, but that tells me they don't have the pricing power of Nvidia does. So a lot of people look at these companies. Machine request to speak. Why is it not coming up here? Because okay, never mind. Meta is here as well. Machine, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm all right. There's a lot going on today. Crazy
Um,
stuff.
yeah, probably more than I know about,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean that's always the case.
Mm-hmm.
I came up for 2 reasons. One is just to say
You love me.
I'm proud of you for finally getting back outside of the Tesla bubble
Mm-hmm.
and opining on other areas, macro and other companies,
Mm-hmm.
and providing valuable analysis for those companies.
Wow.
Something that
Thank you.
you're actually capable of doing, uh, versus just sticking to being a Tesla fanboy like you've been for the last few years. So I think you're finally recovering and finding yourself again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that is valuable to the investment community writ large. So I commend you on that. I find it interesting. I will read all your articles.
Oh
I
wow.
have your
Thank you.
SMCI article up right now. I look through it.
Wow.
But I want to comment on SMCI specifically because what I was thinking, I didn't look at their gross margins, which you mentioned, but I was just looking at their uh, earnings growth, revenue growth, and how it fluctuates a bit over the last year or more or 2 years, and noticing number one that uh, as opposed to Nvidia, who was just this linear, you could almost say exponential increase in all their metrics. Um, SMCI has a bit of, I don't know if it's cyclical or if it's just more volatile, variability in their results. And that combined with the fact that the market is valuing them more highly than Nvidia, essentially, based on earnings and assumed earnings growth, that I would just say if you are considering that there's going to be some sort of AI bubble at some point, and you wanted to short or go short against a certain company, I would think SMCI would be a better bet than Nvidia. Um, and so I had started designing selling calls a call spread on SMCI on Friday, but I didn't get to. I had just too busy with the kids in the morning, so I didn't get it out before when the stock went up past 1200, and so it would have triggered then, but I never got it in, and now I have to think about it. But I still think like if you're going to short something, SMCI to me seems like a better bet than Nvidia at some point, and so you
Mhm.
probably have more reasons even for that. Um, so it's good to see that you are thinking along the same lines as me.
Mhm. Thank you. I received that. Very kind words.
Also, I appreciate that I'm on the top of your mind always, and that even in your Seeking Alpha articles, you refer to Popeyes multiple times, clearly in reference to me. So that's good. That's good. I'm on your mind. Thank you.
Mhm. You know what's really funny? It's not really funny, it's a little tragic actually. Um, I include so many more jokes in my articles, but then they take them out. They water them down, they take them out, and it cracks me up as I write them. But then I know they're going to send it back to me for edits. So I actually remove part of it, and then they still remove more. Like it's ridiculous. But I'm glad I kept the Popeyes one.
Well, I think now you know what I feel like when I come to these spaces and I make all sorts of jokes and you try to shut it down half the time, trying to enhance, quote, the signal to noise ratio. And
Hmm.
now you know what it feels like when someone takes away what you think's funny.
Yeah. Um, Steven asks, is machine feeling okay with all the niceties today?
I mean, I'm not. It's kind of disturbing. But it's kind of on this disturbing binge because the last 2 days I've had two heterosexual males come up to me and tell me how nice my figure is. Like, what exercises do I do? And I was out in San Francisco yesterday, and there's this jacked black guy walking by. I'm with my sisters are visiting. I'm with my kids, and he's like, "Yo, man," he's like, "great shape." And my sisters are like, "What? Oh my god!" And I'm just full of compliments now today. So I can't compliment you on your figure. It's terrible. You know, your pictures. You need to lose like 20 pounds before you can not wear a shirt. But I guess at some point,
Me?
yeah, I could give you a compliment if
You
you know.
you haven't seen my recent, I guess,
I guess not. Has
20
anyone?
pounds. I need to add 20 pounds. What are you talking about?
No one's seen you shirtless. No
I
woman.
lost like, dude, I lost like 40 pounds in the last 2 years or so. A year. In the
Well,
last year, I lost
well,
like 40 pounds.
you were definitely overweight. How did you get to that point? What happened in your life that you gained 40 pounds? Were you drinking a lot?
Lost. I lost 40 pounds. Oh, you mean before that?
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't really overweight, but yeah, I don't know what happened. I did go over 200.
That is denial. Listen, that is denial. If you can lose 40 pounds, you can't say you weren't overweight. Like,
Ranger the dog asks, how do you know the guys that came up to you are heterosexual?
well, the second one was with his girlfriend. So they were holding hands. That's probably why he felt comfortable saying it. The other guy, yeah, you don't know. I mean, you get trying to get a sense by how they interact with you. And the first guy was very clear to give me fist bumps all the time, so he wasn't like hitting on me. Uh, when that happens, it's very different in my experience.
Hmm. Yeah. All right. Let's talk some Tesla now that we lost. Yeah. Um, what do you think about production deliveries figures for Q1?
Well, I think we talked about it last week a bit that they're not trending well. Troy did come out with another update this morning, which is indicating even although there's some positives that the overall trend is still going further down, that it might even go, and he could be wrong, of course, in the absolute figure at the end, but he's saying it might go down to like a future update might go down to 410,000
Hmm.
deliveries, which is quite low, even low year over year. So it's really hard to be bullish short term on the share price when you have things decreasing in that sense. But it doesn't mean obviously it's going to go lower than low 170s that it was at last week. We don't know. So, but the Model Y production in Austin is higher, and Cybertruck, I think he's updated his estimate. I think it's still on too few VINs to going from like 150 a week to 300 a week. So now you're getting closer to 50 a day versus like half that before, or 30. So that's promising. That's ramping, right? They're not stalled, seemingly. But yeah, in terms of earnings, Q1, they probably are not going to be very good. And so I don't know, the last four or five four earnings reports, the market has not been happy with. I don't know what it would take to change that phenomena in this upcoming one.
Dude, people are voting 10 on YouTube Live sound quality, audio quality right now. This is a first in this space's history. We may have finally figured it out. Sound. That's amazing.
It's probably just because I'm speaking and they
I'm
like
so
hearing my
happy
voice.
about that. Yeah, I'm so happy about this. Um, let's see. Okay, we talked about SMCI, we talked about NVIDIA. Um, I know a couple of folks bought. A couple of folks bought. SOXS. Do you know what that is?
Is that the semiconductor
Yeah,
short?
yeah.
Because Soxel is
3x triple
long.
short. Semiconductor triple short. But I actually published another article that talked about how instead of buying SOXS, which is the bear triple, it's better, I think, to short the bull triple ETF. Have you ever done that?
No, because I would just take the whatever the because the leveraged ones, they're really not different from doing the right options trade on the index that it's trying to track. Um, that you can do that. I mean, it's easier to go long. Like if you just want to go long, you get 3x leverage. Like I totally get. You have to play it like an option and do it along the same time frame because there's still going to be theta decay. But it's easier, right, to just do buy Soxel. But to short Soxel, I'm not sure exactly what the dynamics would look like on that. On maybe it is better. I don't know what your thoughts. I have to think through it. Um, but why do you think that?
Because there's a lot of management fees associated with these accounts, and then they may have underlying leveraged bets, swaps, options, which obviously have inherently costs as well. A bunch of different trading costs. Bid ask spread could be wide. So triple bull ETFs usually underperform the actual triple price of the underlying security. So you would essentially be shorting that stuff too. So I
I
think it's
don't
the better.
I get that. I get that point for sure, but I still don't understand if you short it, do you really get the benefits then of those things? Are they turned into your favor? Like I don't know. That seems kind of
Yeah,
weird.
it's more likely that you're gonna get to 100% return if you short the ETF.
Like if you short, yeah, yeah, I maybe it's like yeah, I'm gonna think about that. I got to look at
Mhm.
some analysis on that. That's something that I don't know. I don't know if I would short the index, the sort of semiconductor index yet. I think you just have to have a clear macro picture that you think this is the top for demand or people's
Mhm.
perception of demand in that
Mhm.
area. Whereas I actually think targeting specific companies that are highly overvalued, the ones that are the most overvalued, and shorting them would make more sense in this case because they have the best chance of falling, even if the rest of the semiconductor industry does not. That's just my initial thoughts right now.
Mhm. Do we talk some macro?
I'm gonna go eat, and I know you don't like that, so I might be back
Mhm.
later.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. On YouTube Live, you can see by macro analyst profile. And if you're on X Spaces, you may as well just click on macro analyst and look at the profile. Meta?
You guys were talking about shorting the triple indexed ETFs or triple leveraged ETFs, and there's like a fun math thing called a bear reversion. I think it's what it's called. But basically, if the underlying was to go from 100 to 110 and then back to 100, and there was a 3x leverage, you actually lose 3% because of the way the math works. So you're actually better off shorting the inverse than buying the actual thing.
Yeah, like shorting the long, right?
Yeah. So if you
Shorting the
want,
long. That's it. That's exactly what I said.
yeah. I was agreeing with you. I was just
Oh, okay.
I was explaining to machine why that mathematically over time, these triple leverage things, if you look at any of them, they're constantly doing reverse splits.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's the more
Dude,
volatile the underlying is, the faster it decays.
yeah, interesting. And where did you kind of run your own analysis on this, or did you read this somewhere?
A long time back, I worked at TD Bank and I did work in an options department.
What?
Yes.
Are you
Something you don't know
serious?
about me.
Wow.
I did a 4-month internship and I decided it was not for me, but I did learn this there.
Oh, wow, that is wild. When was that? I mean, you don't have to tell me.
I'm not, yeah, I'm not gonna
Don't
get,
say it. Yeah.
I'm not giving out
Yeah.
specifics, but it was around the time of the Great Recession.
Oh, wow. That is wild. I was not expecting that. You kind of dropped it on me.
Yeah, no, you definitely didn't expect that to come out, but yes,
Yeah.
and some interest in stocks and options and stuff like that.
Yeah. Um, dude, I'm a little frustrated. It's like Seeking Alpha is going well, and I'm kind of used to their ways and everything, but it still frustrates me sometimes. Like the title of this article was supposed to be SMCI is not the next Nvidia, which is exactly what I said in my post, which includes the link. Okay. They changed the title to first they said, you know what, you're name dropping Nvidia, but I'm like, yeah, I am. Um, and they said, well, we're not, we have a policy against name dropping. So why don't you kind of specifically say more why, um, it's not the next Nvidia. And I said, okay, well, SMSI is like next Nvidia because the fundamentals don't mirror Nvidia's, you know. And then they changed it to they dropped the entire like without my permission, by the way. They dropped an entire Nvidia title from the title, and they said super microcomputer, impressive revenue growth. So they added impressive, which I didn't even I didn't even impressive revenue growth, but margins lag. Margins are declining. Okay, they're not just lagging. There's nothing about Nvidia in the title, and I didn't say impressive revenue growth. Like this is not even my title, but this is the product of the editorial process, I guess.
Well, the good thing is this is a job that lets you work from home. This is a job that lets you just write up articles. You don't
Right.
have to drive traffic there. I know it sucks because
No, I do. It pays.
it
Like
pays
the
the more traffic there is.
yeah, by click,
Oh,
and title drives that.
I thought you got paid based on just the article itself or something. That's weird.
No, like consider selling in. So the other article I wrote is Nvidia article. I said
Mhm.
sell Nvidia. Sell Nvidia. I said my title was so much better. I said sell Nvidia with the insiders. Sell Nvidia along with insiders or something like that. It was my
Yeah.
title, okay? Which is a great title and it represents the body of the text and everything. They changed it to Nvidia. Consider selling amidst insider selling and stretch valuations. I'm like that's not the same impact, you
Maybe they
know?
know the SEO of it or some other reasoning behind it. I mean, they're a popular website and they make money, right?
Yeah, they do. But that article actually did really well. But this one is slow to pick up.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Anyway, this is I like, but at the same time, like I was kind of going through my articles in 2017, 18, 19, and some of the feedback they gave me. Sometimes they won't publish it at all. Like they will just say, like you put in all this like work, right, in some of these
Yep.
articles, and they'll just say like, you know what, this is not for us, and they just like ban it. Like you can't even change it.
Yep.
So I was going through their reasoning, and I was like, oh, actually, these were actually looking back, hindsight 2020, these were better, good feedback.
Mm. Well, that's a good thing. So then
Mhm.
maybe, what you could do is you could keep a log of it. I don't know if you're allowed to do this or not, so don't do it if you're not allowed. But you could theoretically keep a log of all the feedback they give you, and then you could publish an article about what you've learned if they let
That's a
you
good
do that.
call. Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I can publish blog posts on Seeking Alpha whenever I want. They actually give you that option. Like we can't publish this on premium, but you can publish as blog posts. Go ahead.
Question I have is, I remember when Tesla was included into the S&P 500. I think it was on the Tesla Daily Tesla podcast. But I forget exactly where. But there was somebody who like basically walked through the closing cross and why the closing cross basically eliminates any super high buying squeeze or anything like that when things get included in the SP 500. Yet people keep thinking things are going to go up a lot because there's going to be all this buying pressure because something's been included in the SP 500, and it always turns out to be like a big nothing burger. Is that like something you would be comfortable? And that the closing cross is like a auction type system and settlement. It's less of a so it's harder to rig or something on the designs. I don't fully remember all the details of it though.
So I'm trying to figure out some technical stuff in the background. Can you repeat your question again, please?
Putting it a little more succinctly, can you help educate or teach how the closing cross and the S&P 500 inclusion play with each other? Like, what is the closing cross?
What's closing cross?
And it has to do with trying to maximize the total number of like market orders at close. And I think it's like 25% of trades happen at that time. And there's an opening cross and a closing cross. There's a whole procedure for how it happens. And the reason why the S&P 500 and all these indexes use the closing price is because it's a lot harder to manipulate that algorithm. Anyway, I'll dig into it more myself. I just thought maybe you knew more about it.
Hmm.
You might find it interesting if you do look into it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I looked into this stuff a little bit when Tesla was being added, but at the end of the day, we want to discuss more longer term stuff, right?
Correct. I was just thinking it plays into this whole everybody's like buying SMCI because it's going to go to the SP 500, but that's a dumb reason to buy it.
Well, how did it play out for Tesla? The volume just surged, but the stock didn't and leading up to the inclusion, the stock ran up. But that was a good time to sell. Hindsight 2020. It
Yeah, and then
actually
it
Tesla
went
stock
down
actually
after.
did go up. Tesla stock actually did go up in the following couple of months. But that would have been a good time to sell. Hindsight 2020.
Yeah, but like on the day of inclusion, it barely moved.
Right, exactly. But the volume was insane. I mean, I was watching it live
Correct. That's
on
the
the
closing
Bloomberg terminal.
cross. That's the closing
Mhm.
cross that you're gonna probably go read up about. The way they do the closing
I'm not
cross.
going to. I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
going
Never
to. I
mind.
need to focus, prioritize articles. I'm going to ramp up Patreon posts as well. I created a macro tier. I created the Tesla tier. The $10 tier is going to be Tesla tier. It's going to have weekly Tesla analysis and compilation of news. And the macro tier will be separate, $10 again. It's going to have weekly compilation and analysis of macroeconomics. And I might actually do macro spaces, require a subscription kind of thing, and keep the daily space for Tesla open to everybody. So I got to focus on what I got to focus on. I'm not going to be dealing with short-term trading stuff. Um, what do you think of SMCI?
I think it's a safer way to short the hype than shorting Nvidia directly. I do appreciate that call out.
hmm It has a higher short interest though. Nvidia has 1-2% short interest, so there's really no short squeeze kind of risk in Nvidia. SMCI has an 11% short interest, so there's a bit of a short squeeze. And also, I'm assuming I didn't check, but their put options probably have higher implied volatility, so higher priced probably. But yeah, interesting that SMCI's margins are declining, whereas Nvidia's margins are climbing rapidly along with their revenue.
Did you see
So
the
I
recent?
go
Oh,
ahead.
did you see the recent interview from Jensen talking about why he feels inference won't be a challenge?
Yeah, what do you think?
I think
He's been giving quite a few talks.
I think he did the classic thing that I'm seeing a lot of people do when they talk about the subject. He immediately switches over to the difficulty of training, which I feel like is conflating the two topics together when he was explicitly asked about an inference. So he was saying like, well, it costs about $2 billion to start competing on training. And then he goes over to, and what his main argument that I heard in that interview was, in order to compete on inference, you have to have a lot of chips because Midjourney and all these different pieces of software are not going to be optimized to run on your chips if there's not a lot of those chips. And every time he talks about this, he tends to talk about like the way the software developers are going to build their products. But I don't think that's a fair way to think about this because the software developers are using compilers. The compilers are compiled to different chipsets. As long as any of the cloud providers builds a big enough data center with inference, like, Tesla just authorized a big spend on their own data center, most likely Dojo. As long as those data center chips can compile from those compilers to their chipsets, then inference is easy. So I think he's trying to make the argument, but I'm not finding it to be convincing from a technical perspective.
hmm How would you rate? First of all, I think he's selling the products rather than trying to raise capital with all these interviews. He's selling the product because they're going to be generating tens of billions of dollars of cash. No question about that in the next year or two. But is that enough? Like, is that repeatable performance, or is that a one-time kind of short-term imbalance between demand and supply? And I know you think it's the latter. Um, how would you rate his technical? Like, do you think which one is more technical, Elon or Jensen, engineering wise?
In their own domains, I would still probably go Elon. But that to tell you that it's not a um I'm not saying Jensen's not technical. I want to make that very clear. I think he's very smart.
Hmm.
If you had picked Tim Cook versus Jensen, it'd be hands down Jensen.
Yeah, interesting. Brandon?
Yeah, sorry, this is going back about 5 minutes, but I was just curious, is it feasible for you to make your own like kind of website blog type thing that you could post your articles to that people that you could make money from, or is that way less lucrative than using the company that you're
You
with
know,
right now?
I was thinking about that yesterday because now it's so much easier to create a website with, Gemini and other tools helping you out with the coding and stuff. Um, yeah, I thought about it because I
You
mean,
you have
people.
resources
The
too.
thing
You
is,
have
like,
people.
yeah, thank you. The thing is, like, people don't want to pay for subscriptions. Like, I have 35,000 followers, thousands of people, daily active users of the space. They tune in, probably more than 10,000 monthly active, and only a few dozen people sign up, whether to support or exclusive content. That's not that I'm putting a lot of exclusive content, but I will start doing that. And Seeking Alpha makes money primarily on ads, selling ads, and um, these premium subscriptions. So
If you had a blog site, couldn't you have ads on the site, or you don't think it would drive enough traffic to actually be like lucrative enough?
yeah, maybe I don't know. I could create a site and do an AdSense account, I guess, and I might be able to do that. I'm not sure. But how is that different from? I mean, I guess Patreon is more subscriptions. Yeah, I don't know. But then at the same time, then you have a problem of like, X really doesn't like it when you put external links. Like they shadow ban me.
I mean, you have to
And
advertise stuff. You could advertise things on X itself and pay X to promote your YouTube channel and other things as well. That could drive
yeah,
traffic.
yeah, that's true. I'll look into it. I'll look into creating my own website or something along those lines. Yeah. Now, on the other hand, like editorial process has its cons, but also has pros. Like these are professionals. They're professionals, and they review thousands of articles a day. And sometimes they do make the article better. You know, they catch if there's a spelling error. Um, like for example, they really watered down the title. It's annoying, but um, but it is a bit of a more um, professional professional title right now. But Meta, can you please co-host? I need to deal with something right now. I'm gonna be gone for about 5 minutes. I'll be back.
You can do 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
You have to send the request again because of the way this app works.
I just sent it again. Did you get it? Did you get the oh, there? Any questions, comments for Meta? Please request to speak.
The app is glitching. When I'm co-host, I can't unmute.
Oh, okay. So, Matt, I'm going to ask you a question while Yaman's gone. It's not even your expertise. There's a lot of talk about a recession this year, a lot, and wondering if you've got any feedback on that.
My personal opinion is the more people talk about a recession, the more likely it is that people won't like curb their spending before it gets too bad. It also, like we've talked about in the spaces before, it really comes down to how you define a recession. As long as there's tons of money to be thrown into cryptocurrency tokens and we're seeing surges in prices and we're seeing bubbles in different sectors, I'm not sure how you can say there's a recession.
Yeah, there's a couple people out there stating like, and I don't know all the details, like these are the 10 reasons why. And some of these people, their own spaces, you probably
I'm
know
back.
them. Oh, my time's up.
You asked about recession, so I wasn't able
I-
to do what I need to do, but so I'm on standby right now. Oh, the recession call I made is if the Fed doesn't cut by June, which looks like they will, then the recession would start by the end of the year. Hold on, I gotta go for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to save this for the macro space, but
I mean,
brought it up.
we can chat about it while Iman's dealing with what he's dealing with because I can't co-host and speak.
Is that like rubbing your head and patting your tummy type thing?
For X, apparently it is. This app
Okay.
is just so great. I don't know, like it has all these like weird glitches that show up and disappear. I think they must have race conditions all over in the way they've implemented it. You can't really blame the X engineers though, because it feels like this is the old Periscope that was acquired.
Okay, on a different topic, I must have been living in a cave or something because I never heard of this super microcomputer, whatever their name is. Do they go by a different name?
No, they're kind of like new. I think they're one of the companies that does in Yaman will know more about this, but I believe they do the fabs in the United States, and they do more focused style stuff, more application specific stuff. What do you make of this? Sam Altman is going to make a ton of money from the Reddit sale, the IPO, and the OpenAI versus Tesla lawsuit situation.
I'm not following that. I don't really care about all that stuff. It is what it is. I can't really comment on it.
Totally
I mean,
fair.
if you have comments, then go
I
for it.
think it's strange timing that the Reddit platform is IPOing. I think it's also odd that there's it's kind of like the whole seeking alpha conversation that was happening earlier. There's all these like editors and space managers and all that stuff. And I think Seeking Alpha pays those people, but Reddit doesn't. And so now there's like all these people making a ton of money, and probably the people who made Reddit won't get a share of that, which is kind of strange.
It's going to be interesting. I need to drop the listener. I'll be back later.
We have Mike coming up. He'll talk about the macro a little bit too. Mike, go ahead.
Hey guys.
I need a couple more minutes. Mike, go ahead.
Hey guys, this is probably best for Meta. I happened to watch the Lex Friedman interview with Jan LeCun this past weekend, and he's pretty adamant that we're very far away from self-driving because of the lack of a world model and the lack of progress towards AGI is generally what he thinks. That the current lack of memory on board automobiles is going to prevent getting to level 5 autonomy anytime in the next, I think, 10 years, according to him. I wanted to see your thoughts regarding LeCun's pessimism regarding autonomy.
I think he's generally been extremely pessimistic about AI in general. As an example, when LMs first started to take off, he was very much insisting that it was I'm trying to remember exactly how he said it. It was um, it was a off ramp on the highway to AGI, like as in like total wrong direction. Now he's tempered that a little bit more. So just keep that in mind of the individual that we're talking about. He's also one of the three authors who created Backprop, which is like the foundational thing for AI. So it's like high respect for the individual, but also very conservative in a lot of ways. The biggest counterpoint to this is Waymo is operating in many cities autonomously without humans in the car. They don't have like crazy accidents. I think they published their safety report. And when you remove the accidents below 1 mile per hour or 5 miles per hour, some really small number, I forget what it was, their accident rate was really low, much lower than humans in each of the cities in which they were operating. That is very promising. And that tells you that it cannot be a physical limitation. Whatever hardware is in the Waymo, whether or not Tesla's is better or equivalent or worse, it does suggest that as humanity right now, it from a technical perspective achievable. Then the only question that remains is, can you scale it beyond one city? Can you scale your process such that you can make it work? You could question whether or not it's possible on the highway, because Waymo doesn't do it on the highway yet. But I would argue if you look at Tesla's highway operations, it's pretty close that to see that it does clearly work on the highway. So when you combine these two companies together, I think it's difficult to stand by and say it's not achievable for 10 years. That's an eternity in tech, especially in AI right now. I actually have to drop. Hope to listen to this space another time. Bye, everybody.
All right. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. Otherwise, I'm going to end the space because I have to deal with a few things. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. Otherwise, we're going to end the space. Mike, how you been?
All good, Yaman. Yeah, I was trying to find the naysayers regarding FSD and the progress with V12 over the weekend, and came upon one of the chief scientists at Meta, a guy by the name of Jan LeCun, and he's quite pessimistic about self-driving anytime in the near future. Generally, his thesis, the reason why he's pessimistic is the inability to interpret the world, to understand the world, the lack of memory on board the car, and just the inability to understand, like a human, understand the environment.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's keep it to any urgent requests, because you actually have to deal with a couple of things. West Hicks, any questions, comments?
Yeah, nothing urgent. I got a V12 ride the other day with Bradford Ferguson. Just going to
Mhm.
comment on that, but we can do it
Yeah,
some
go
other
ahead.
day if you need to run. Okay.
No, go ahead.
All right. Let me know if I need to accelerate here, but yeah, I would recommend that everybody check out the video that Farzad just put out. Bradford had a ride with him in Austin a few days ago, and then he picked up Haas in, I think that's his name, in Texarkana. And then he came to Memphis, and I jumped in with a couple other guys here from Memphis Tesla Owners Club. And in short, and you can let me know if I go longer, but in short, 12 was awesome in ways that 11 is not, but it's far from there, meaning it's like a few steps back in the way that 11 is good. And the reason I recommend Farzad and Haas's video that they just put out is because they go into a lot of detail about it, probably had similar experiences to me. And they estimate that it'll probably be about summer before this comes out in wide release. Whereas Omar the other day thought it might be this month. Of course, who knows, right? But it has a ways to go. But it is fun and it's interesting. But we'll see what happens. But anyways, I just want to give you a short version of that because I need to run.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike, is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, not really. Just I think the limiting factor.
Mike?
I'm here, Yaman. Can you hear me?
Yeah, the limiting factor. You said the limiting factor?
The limiting factor regarding Tesla demand issues right now, I think is FSD, improvements in FSD. I think FSD is kind of the key to everything. If it doesn't have to be 100% accurate, it doesn't have to be level 5. To the extent that it improves, it will open up new demand, and that demand will increase cash flow from selling automobiles, which then can be used to invest in Optimus and so forth. So I think the key to Tesla at this juncture is improvements, rapid improvements in the V12 architecture.
I agree. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.